Welcome to the Food Allergy Lifestyle Summit, where we are talking about how to eat well, feel well, and take really good care of yourself so that you can manage your lifestyle and eat with abandon and love everything. So today I am talking to Annie Gaudreault. I'm so excited to have her as part of this summit, and we're going to learn so much from her. Annie is a licensed holistic nutritionist and wellness coach. She is an accomplished endurance athlete and has completed over 10 marathons and 3 triathlon Ironman competitions. So we know that Annie knows how to set a goal and stick to it. She understands how to serve the wellness needs of people with really busy lives. And she's an expert at healthy aging and supports the health and wellness of middle-aged women through private coaching, workshops, and retreats. Welcome, Annie. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here today with you.
So, Annie, you started off with a corporate career. You worked in offices. You were a very busy executive. So at what point did you make this switch into the wellness field?
It was a bit of a slow drip because I started to feel the effect of my very stressed life, a little bit at a time. It didn't just become an overnight revelation. And luckily for me, somebody had suggested that I start running because I had a very, very busy schedule. And running is one of those things that you don't necessarily need to show up for a class or at a gym. So I started running and I started to sign up for small races, and one thing led to another. It led to realizing that I really loved that activity, and I love those goals and the goal setting, which you mentioned, which are things that I never knew about myself. I had not been a talented kid sports-wise at school, and never saw that this was in me. And slowly and surely, one thing led to another. Over a number of years, I decided I felt that there was something more powerful and that I could really contribute in this world in a different way. So even though I had really liked my career as a consultant, it was really not aligned with my values. And that is something that I didn't even know at the time. And then suddenly I thought, what can I do in this health and wellness world, this fitness world that I love so much? And saw that my biggest challenge was around nutrition and explaining nutrition and what was going to work for me or not. So I decided to go back to school and to become a nutritionist to really complement a lot of the skills that I had acquired for 10 plus years as an endurance athlete.
So as an endurance athlete, how did you fuel yourself? Because we know that there's a lot of goos and sugars and protein drinks and tons of sugar and those kind of things. So how do you fuel yourself?
It's a great question because it confuses athletes, and it takes a long time to actually find out what works for you. And one of the biggest myths is that you should just, grab anything that looks like a sports nutrition bar or, as you mentioned, goo and those, gels, etc., and then you'll be okay. Most of the commercial formulas are actually really bad. The type of sugar that is used actually, and this is a phenomenal new research that was done, actually dehydrates you. So you really want to focus actually on good quality glucose. For the most part, you want to stay away from fructose. And for anybody that is interested, why? It's simply because glucose is really absorbed extremely fast by your body, and fructose has to go through your liver. So it's like being on the East Coast wanting to go to the West Coast, but you decide to go north first, right? It really delays the process and is really inefficient for the body. So you really need to learn what works. And a lot of the formulas cause an enormous amount of distress to the GI tract. So you end up having cramps. You end up seeing people with all kinds of issues that are not really fun to think about, but they actually do happen at races. I've witnessed them. I've had some GI issues myself. you get nausea. So you're really not performing at your best.
Yeah.
Right? So there are, however, good, thankfully, some really good formulas out there that are primarily, are really well balanced. I also started to make my own eventually.
Nice. Okay.
And the formula is very simple. It's very, very simple,
Yeah.
So you can try different things.
Okay. So you specialize in working with women who are aging, right? People who are over a certain age. And what is it that you are finding in your clients, the people that you talk to? What are some of their common complaints, things that they're dealing with as they're getting older?
Yes, I deal with women, I would say 45 plus.
Okay.
And the number one issue is lack of energy. They remember having all this vitality in their 20s and 30s, and slowly this eroded at the beginning of their 40s. And I always say this is very normal, because if you can neglect your health for only a certain amount of time, just like you could neglect taking care of your car, but eventually catches up. And it's automatic. In the 40s is when the symptoms start to rise to the surface. And one of those symptoms is a lack of energy, because you're not properly fueling that beautiful machine that you have. You're not maintaining it. You're not taking care of your stress, which is one of the things that was really one of the first symptoms that I experienced in my 30s. It came on early, but in a way it was a gift in disguise.
Because those things popped up and they made you pay attention.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. So the number one thing that people come to me with is, oh my God, Annie, I just don't have the energy. And even when I sleep, I don't have the energy. What is going on? The other thing is weight catches up. So a little bit of that effect of lifestyle plus nutrition catches up to us. So for a long time, the metabolism is still high enough to burn all that. And eventually, in our 40s is when we start to see some changes around that. And especially if you have not been exercising, it really decreases faster. Yeah. Therefore, the weight gain. Sometimes also combined with having children, of course. And not everyone experiences menopause in the textbook, average 51. A lot of people enter menopause years mid-40s. Mm-hmm. Slowly in a very irregular manner, but one of the consequences of that, of course, is the weight gain. Yeah. And then the other things that I see are like, they're just massively stressed out, and that comes out in different ways. So whether it's skin issues, gut issues, sleep issues.
Yeah. So what are you seeing as far as their diet or their food, right? So during this series, we're talking about food sensitivities, food allergies, and they can start or come on for a lot of different reasons. And what is it that you're seeing with your clients as far as how they're dealing with their diet or the foods that they're eating?
I think that we live in the age of over-information. So I think that a lot of the women are trying to educate themselves, but they are very overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And don't understand who they should trust, what sources they should trust to really guide their choices. So I try to always tell people, not one size fits all, also in the diet world. And sensitivities, allergies do occur. And as you mentioned, there's many sources of the reasons why this happened. But the women that I deal with will try, a keto diet for 3-4 weeks. And then they'll go, oh my God, that was crazy. I'm now going to go on low carb. And I heard that veganism is good. So I'm going to try that. So they bounce from one thing to the other. And it's very difficult for the body to keep up with all these changes. And there are often some nutritional deficiencies that occur as part of these. I'm going to try these different things because they sound pretty good. And my friend did it and it worked for her.
Yeah, right. Oh, I heard that this is the best diet and everyone's losing weight on it. And so I'm going to try it. But then they don't feel well and they figure, oh, I'm doing something wrong, or they can't figure out why it doesn't work for them.
And it's frustrating, if your friend lost 20 pounds and swear by this thing, and then you try it and you lose a little bit of weight, but you feel terrible. That is not something that will work for you. It's not sustainable for you. Maybe it worked for your friend. So it's very frustrating for the women that I talk to, but they have bounced from one thing to the other.
So how do you work with them for them to figure out what eating style does work for them?
Well, we look at what they have been doing traditionally in their life, and I have them do food journaling to get a sense, and I like to have a couple of weeks, because there's two reasons. If I tell you to give me a food journal tomorrow, you start to be very mindful of what you are going to put down, because we want to make a good impression, and everyone, that is normal. But I really am trying to get a fairly realistic read over the habits, which includes a Monday when I'm at the office, to a Saturday when I'm at home, to perhaps a friend's celebration another week later, so that we have a very good understanding of that person's life. And then we start to see a little bit more trends in terms of what is working for them or not. I also always do a symptomology assessment with them. And it's a long questionnaire that people have to fill out in order to identify what potential nutrition are deficient in them. And that is usually a wonderful tool to detect the past year, because deficiency in iron and zinc and magnesium and all that, are not the result of last week's diet. They are the result of months and months of, neglect or care.
Yeah. Okay. So for people that are watching that are confused and frustrated and are not sure, and they're just like all the things that you've just said, they've tried a bunch of different diets, they're not sure what's working. Maybe the weight gain is happening, it's not going away, or they've got symptoms, like the you even mentioned, rashes, things like that. What are just a couple little things like that they can start with? Like where do you find the people that you work with, see just that little bit of a change that just helps them keep going?
We always do ongoing journaling. And I'm a big believer in it in my life as an overall practice.
Yeah.
Because, we talk about why is journaling good? It makes you listen to what is going on, and it makes you pause. Journaling your food makes you pause about that occasion, about, was this meaningful? Is this really what I want to be, eating? And you start to see your own patterns, and you have a heightened sense of, what is working, what starts to work for you when you are writing things down. So it's one of the things that we do right off the bat. We also eliminate most inflammatory foods. So that means all the white things, the white rice and the white breads, and all those things, and the added sugar. We look for all those sources. There are also some groups of foods that if I see in the journal that were quite prominent in terms of perhaps a little bit more trigger for food sensitivities, and that person really shows those symptoms, I will right away remove those from someone's diet, such as, it could be nuts, it could be eggs, it could be for sure gluten. I have a little bit of gluten now in my diet, but I really want to make sure that, for new clients, we eliminate it because it makes such a difference right away. So people can just remove the big, the big guilty foods that usually cause us some issues. Mm-hmm. And one of the big things that I also work with people, and women are quite sensitive, I find, to our fat digestion. And we analyze what is in their diet from a fat quality. And often we see a lot of deficiencies. We see a lot of inflammatory fats entering their diet because, once again, they thought, oh, these are vegetable fats, therefore they should be good for me. And unfortunately, it's the opposite. So the peanut oils, the canola oils, the safflower oil, all of those are highly inflammatory. So we go back to good for you fats.
Mm-hmm.
And that really helps.
And you're saying that you can see that in a test? There's a test that you like to do that you can see that?
Not around the fats, but in terms of any vitamins and mineral deficiencies, we see that. We will definitely see omega-3s deficiencies for sure, but it will not get more finite than that. Okay. But it's so scientifically backed up, the inflammatory fats, that I remove them regardless of the person's goals. If you have a goal to live and age in a healthy way, you want to remove those right away.
Yeah. Okay. And so you just said live and age in a healthy way. So I know I hear all the time that, oh, I'm just getting older and that's the way it is. Or, menopause is supposed to be hard. Or, oh, my memory's not working as well. It's just because I'm getting older, right? Those are all those things that we think are true. They might be common, right? They happen to most people, but it doesn't mean that they have to. So what are some of those myths around aging that we all think are true, but don't have to be true?
I'm so glad you asked this, because this is like a really big passion point for me. I feel that we have been sold a whole bunch of lies. And I find it, as a nutritionist and somebody that follows the science, I find it extremely insulting, because as a society, we've been told that, aging must mean decay of our vitality, decay of what we are able to achieve spiritually, mentally, physically. And while there is a certain truth to, decrease in metabolism, decrease in muscle mass, decrease also could be in bone density. These happen in our society, not because of aging for the most part, but because of neglect, because of poor nutrition, because of poor lifestyle. What should be the norm is active seniors. We should be able to be, living with strength and with all the gusto that we wish to have, by doing simple things, but we must do them consistently. And the sooner we begin, of course, the better the outcome, right? But even if I am a listener today and I am 62 and, activity has been a bit sporadic in my life, you will 100% see positive results in your life from undertaking activity, 3, 4, 5 times a week. So there are a lot of myths that we should get arthritis. Arthritis is an inflammatory disease. It is not a disease of aging, so all those things, that's why I get so passionate about this, because those don't have to be outcomes of aging. They're the outcomes of poor choices. And the science is very, very clear on this, but we live in a system where we believe, even in society, that is what is portrayed. We don't portray the strong people that are capable of, doing things. Although those examples are all around us, they're just not the ones that they choose to portray. However, I am seeing, and this is the part I'm excited about, is that I believe that that wind is changing. We are starting to see more seniors, I use the term seniors now to really catch all of anybody that is not in their 30s, but anybody that is aging. We're starting to see incredible examples of accomplishments, whether they're artistic accomplishment, whether you are an athlete, we have purposes in this world. And I believe that by choosing the right strategies, nothing will stop you. Aging is just going to be one of those things that we just shrug and we go, yeah, of course I'm aging. That is natural. That is life,
Yeah, we can age without falling apart.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's beautiful. And I know, because I've done some half marathons, I've done lots of 5Ks myself. I know I see people much older than me out there going faster than me. I
Absolutely.
know you've seen that out there.
Oh, it's always incredible. It's always incredibly humbling to see these athletes that are, passing you on the course. And it is absolutely possible. We don't have to start taking all kinds of drugs to deal with different issues with age, when we are actually monitoring our nutrition and customizing for our needs. As we said at the beginning, it is not one size fits all, but when we do pay attention to the food allergies, when we monitoring our bodies, and we're listening to, yeah, it should not be feeling this way. When we pay attention, the signs are there.
Yeah, yeah. If you really pay attention and listen. I know I've talked to so many people that when I ask them, they're asking me about like their breakfast. Should I eat this for breakfast, or does this work? I'm like, well, how do you feel after you eat it? Do you have energy? Are you yawning? And they're like, what do you mean? How do I feel? They've
Yes,
never thought about that before, how they feel after a meal. Like that
absolutely.
simple little thing can make a difference.
Yes. And you remember how we used to, as a small example, remember how we used to tell people, oh, you must have breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but there's about a third, about a third of population that really, really, really cannot eat in the morning. These people are just simply wired that way. In the Ayurvedic practice, we usually, they're the kapha style. These are people who, cannot even, like, if they smell, even breakfast, they're really turned off by it. This is a disposition. This is how you are. That's why I say you really need to listen to how your body is. And then there's people like my sister and I, we wake up hungry. It's the first thing we think about is, when are we eating?
Yeah.
So, different people. And again, you really need to listen to what is going on. And I think that, you made a good point about, journaling is not just about putting down what I ate, but also how I feel. What time of day was that? And then through the day, did I have terrible cravings at 4 o'clock? This is actually one of the things that people ask me a lot. Annie, I'm trying to lose weight, but I'm starving at 4 o'clock. I must eat. And we deconstruct that, and then we realize most of the time their lunches are really not high in good calories enough. So they are starving at 4 o'clock. So it's really important to keep track so that you can actually go and solve the original problem. The problem is there's nothing wrong with them. They're not weak individual. They're just not feeding themselves, the right amount at the right time.
I am so glad you went back to the journaling and everything you just said there, because I wanted to know, like, yeah, what is in that journal? Because people will hear, oh, you should food journal, you should journal your meals. Okay, so they just write down what they ate. No, it's so much more, which is what it sounds like you're talking about is, okay, I ate, but then how did I feel? How did I feel when I woke up? How did I feel an hour after I ate? Is that the kind of things that you add in for your journal?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Including digestion, bowel movement, because all of that is part of, the equation. We often, I always say, there's a uber focus on, the plate in front of us, but that is just the ingestion of food. The ability to digest is an equally important factor. And our ability to digest is very much impacted by how stressed we are. Did I eat in 3.5 minutes a whole meal? Well, you can imagine that that's going to affect your ability to digest. Are you a person who, is never able to go to the bathroom? Again, very much tied to your ability to digest and eliminate. All of these parts, are all part of the story. So the journaling is a lot more than just 2 eggs, with a little bit of avocado.
Yeah.
So much more.
Yeah.
But all the tons of beautiful information here. This is very precious. And it's a beautiful way for anyone that is listening today to start. This doesn't cost anything. It's a beautiful way to start.
Right. Even if it's just for their own information, right? If they're not even gonna, if they're not seeing a health professional or whatever, just so that they, like a week later, a month later, can go back and look and go, oh wow, I felt that way that day, but I didn't feel that way this other day. Like, what's the difference?
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. And we all have busy lives. So by keeping track, you can really, be able to assess it and be able to go back and go, oh, this is interesting. I thought I ate fish twice a week. And the reality is that I ate fish once over 2 weeks. It makes you realize, sometimes, I have many clients that come and say, oh, I eat healthy, so I'm not really sure what you're going to do for me. And I say, well, we're going to begin there, right? Let's take a look. But there's a lot of misconception between what our head is telling us and actually what we do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. That's really, really great insight. I want to go back and ask you about the races and about how you find, because I know that you love when other people get introduced to this love of, and it might not be running for someone else, maybe it's walking, or something else. What is it about having that race on the calendar, having that goal in front of you that just really, that you love?
Oh, I think I believe that this is the number one thing. You must commit. It's the commitment that is, you have actually put out in the world your intention to do something. You know how we use, you probably have heard this as well. People will say, oh, I'll try to do that. I'll try to walk to the subway instead of walking, instead of, taking I will try to do this. When you sign up for a race, there is no more try. You are going to do the race. There is a shift in energy, and people don't realize how powerful that is. Trying is leaving the door open for, I'm going to bail. When you commit, you've set your intention that you will start and you will finish. And there is magic in that. And what I mean by magic is that you will then all orient your decisions in your life to support that. So whether it is, I am going to swim, in a relay, I am going to participate in a cross-country ski. It's winter here right now, so I'm thinking cross-country skiing.
Yeah.
I will learn to skate. Any type of goal like this, right? You must absolutely commit. That is why I don't believe in the free things. I believe in put your money down and, because it's another factor that makes you committed. So there is definitely, I cannot overstate this enough. And I use that strategy to this day. People believe that because I've done a lot of races, I don't need this. I need it just like the day that I began.
Wow. I love that. That is such a gem right there. Thank you so much for that. So Annie, there's so many things that we've just talked about and so many great tips and information suggestions you've made. And so I feel like we kind of already know the answer to this, but like, what for someone who is listening to you and sees themselves in the things that you've said, and they're struggling and they're aging and they don't want to be the one who's just, oh, everything, I'm just old. They want that vitality back. They want to feel good and they want to live for 50 more years and feel amazing during it. Like, what would be just a couple of your top tips for them for like where to get started?
I think that using your body and moving is top 3. You must use your body. And that's why I don't ever use the word exercise, because sometimes exercise implies all kinds of things that are turning off people, especially women. I've seen it a lot in my practice. So I say, I will challenge you to find some activities in which you will find some pleasure. So it could be you're going to take up dancing. Dancing is a fantastic exercise. It happens to be an amazing exercise, but it is super fun. It's engaging, it's social, and it makes your body move. So I would say that finding a way to include movement in your life and not making a special occasion so that it's on a weekly basis that you can make this happen, So it's fundamental that, it works for you, because otherwise you will fall into that. I'm going to try to go to the gym, but of course, it won't happen. And we know that. So that would be definitely number one. And number two is just focus on eating real food, just at the beginning, right? So stay away from things that have been prepared by others, whether it's a meal service or it's, in a package or it comes from restaurants. And because they use so many ingredients that will trigger inflammation in you, because they all use cheap fats, they cut corners on the quality of the ingredients. So just start by, small things, cooking yourself whole foods as much as possible. And I understand that we are all busy. So, but there are amazing Google, fast 30-minute meals, one pan meals. There are lots of great resources out there to support you, to do that. But just get to real food, and I understand not everyone needs to be Julia Child in the kitchen, There's simple things, but start just more and more and more. And then I would say that the last point was really around, the mindfulness aspect, journaling, starting to pay attention to how you feel, and you will be amazed by what happens.
Wow. Yes. Just get curious and start paying attention. Oh, that is so lovely. Thank you so much, Annie. I've learned a lot from you today as well. Thank you so much, Annie, for joining me today. I think that all the information that we've covered, this has been a great conversation that is going to bring so much value to the people that are listening. I know there are people out there that hear themselves in what you're talking about. Absolutely. And I'm so excited that all of you joined us today. And thank you so much. I really, really look forward to seeing you again. Bye for now.